Today on the live stream, Kayleigh McEnany is asked about reparations. Her response, great, I take PayPal and Venmo. Jump on in to the live stream. Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you had a wonderful July the 5th holiday, which was a Sunday, which if we had days would be a big weekend off. And because it's a holiday weekend, Monday, that means the president isn't doing anything today. But Kayleigh McEnany is doing things today. And the president did do something this morning that is going to dominate this press conference. I wasn't able to do it this morning. I was giving blood because I don't want to use the word hero, but seriously, go give blood if you're able to do so. There are shortages of blood all across the country right now, and it's an important thing to do. So we will get going with this. Hello, Producer Joanna. Hello, Dr. Howard. Oh, Dr. Howard, I'm supposed to call you something else now. Lifer, Dr. Howard. Hi, Jackie, Producer Jackie. Good to see you. Green Room, I'm so glad. I do need a barber. If I go to Ireland, can I get my hair cut? Hello, Danielle. Danielle is our moderator. That's what you are. Moderator Danielle. Stephanie, good to see you. Hello, everyone, whoever that is up at the top. Lynn, PayPal Lynn. Welcome, PayPal Lynn. Your name's coming in just a second along the crawl here. You can watch that. Hello, Centaur. Good to see you. Everybody's jumping in all right away today. So this is what happened this morning. The president tweeted, and what the president tweeted was a little bit longer than this, but essentially I can borrow it down, burn it down in aggregate, as you'll see Kayleigh here say many times. I listened to this as I was donating blood, most of it anyway, but in aggregate, the president tweeted this morning, squirrel. And that's what this press conference is going to be. Just FYI. We'll do some fact-checking along the way. Some of you have probably already seen this before. I know, David, you've seen it. Airbus, good to see you. Hey, Kim, good to see you as well. I saw you asking if we were going to broadcast today, and apparently we've answered that. So if you'd like to join the broadcast, please do. Well, I mean, you've already joined the broadcast. If you'd like to chat, that window over there is an aggregate. That's the word of the day. Drinking word of the day. Aggregate, everybody. That window is an aggregate. You have to chat within your window on your app, whether you're watching it on Twitter or Twitch. And if you want to swear, go to Twitch, because Twitch lets you swear. Or be nice to moderator Danielle, because she'll let you swear on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/KevinlyFather. That is the fastest chat, and the people with the red over on that side right there, the little red arrow, those are the people that are on YouTube. So you can be in that chat room. You can see yourself in this chat room. And if you're having trouble seeing the chat because it's too small, watch it on a computer or smart TV devices. If you go to YouTube Smart TV and just search for Kevinly Father, my feed should come up. Subscribe so that you get notified. And anyway, ask a kid. They'll tell you all about it. Okay, everybody, let's get going with the broadcast today. Here is Kayleigh McEnany. Hello. Unifying. We are defeating the radical left Democrats. And the Nazis. That was unifying.
The president outlined a vision for the future. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I already made the joke, so I'm not going to do it again, but it appears the audio for the desktop was off, so here comes again.
Over the holiday weekend, President Trump delivered two defining, unifying, and patriotic speeches which drew widespread praise.
Unifying. That we're defeating the radical... Okay, you saw that part. All right, that's what I was responding to. Here we go.
By those who cherish our values.
Look, don't complain that you can't hear her. I'm doing you a favor. You should be thanking me and apologizing. Just like Bubba Wallace. You'll hear more.
Honor our history and seek to advance policies that lift up all Americans. The president outlined a vision for the future. The president outlined a vision for stronger and safer communities. President Trump.
And a statue garden. Dead people statues. Justice Scalia. Thurgood Marshall? No. Justice Berger? Chief Justice Berger? No. Just Justice Scalia. Never even Chief Justice. Justice Scalia. We need to have a statue of him in the garden. You know, because kids are always like, Dad, can we please go to a statue garden today? I want to learn about history. And all of those of you who have kids know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, I was going to take you to Disneyland. Dad, statue garden.
Trump said, after all, what do we want? We want a strong military, great education, housing, low taxes, law and order. He went on to say, we want safety, we want equal justice, we want religious liberty.
My mother was big on Law and Order. She always wanted Law and Order. Or later at night, Little House on the Prairie. But one of those two shows. Oh, sometimes Chopped. And then those Fix-It shows. Anyway, I digress.
We want faith and family and living in the great communities and happy communities and safe communities. And we want great jobs, and we want to be respected by the rest of the world, not taken advantage of by the rest of the world. He went on to say, we should all want the same thing. How can it be any different than those things? This message is now more important and more timely than ever. Radical left-wing mobs seek to tear down our monuments and our memorials. Everyone from George Washington to Abraham Lincoln to Frederick Douglass and even Gandhi.
And the Confederates. I mean, that's really what it's about, right? The Confederates. So somebody attacked somebody moved a Frederick Douglass statue this weekend, but there's no video of it. I mean, there's just an empty. They found the statue. It was over by a river, apparently. But you know, because that's what protesters do. They don't tell the media about it. They don't live stream it. They don't put it up on Instagram. They want to protest very quietly. And that's their right under the First Amendment. So, yeah, I'm sure that was protesters who took down the Frederick Douglass statue.
Radical left-wing mobs seek to tear down our monuments and our memorials. Everyone from George Washington to Abraham Lincoln to Frederick Douglass and even Gandhi.
Okay, here's the Gandhi thing. In Davis, California, a Gandhi statue had some paint on it, some spray paint. Nobody knows who did it. It's been vandalized before. And again, that's what protesters do. That protesters are known for being very quiet and sneaky in their ways. They don't want to bring attention to their plight. That's the last thing protesters want.
Misguided movements such as defund the police seek to leave our communities more vulnerable than ever. Case in point, this weekend alone. In New York, there were 44 shootings with 11 killed. In Chicago, 75 people were shot with 13 killed. And tragically, at least 5 of these individuals were children who were killed in cities across the country, an absolutely devastating loss, and we grieve for those families.
I am 100% with Kayleigh McEnany on this one. I never thought I'd say it, but right now she's going to go on a Stop the Gun Violence I don't want to call it a screed. I don't even know the name. It's just, I'm so torn up. I've already heard this, guys. So right now she is going to launch into, I don't know what to call it because there's no words for it. But listen, we need to regulate guns more. So we need to keep the guns out of the hands of criminals. We need to have universal background checks.
Crime such as this is dark and it is divisive.
Yes, it is.
This July 4th, the president said, our movement is based on lifting all citizens to reach their fullest God-given potential.
And the gun
laws. Never
laws.
Forget, we are one family and one nation.
Yes, and the gun laws.
We will teach our children to cherish and adore their country so they can build its future. This vision is not a culture war, as the media seeks to falsely proclaim. It's an embrace of our American family, our values, our freedom, and our future. And with that, I'll take questions.
I remember the word for it. Nothing. There's nothing. All of these people being shot with guns, these children being killed with guns on American streets, unlike any other nation on the planet. We need a statue garden.
Kayleigh, I want to ask you just a couple of questions. The first one, why is the president so supportive of flying the Confederate flag?
So I think you're referring to a tweet this morning. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, I think you're
Let's take a look at that tweet, kids. I've got it here. Let me pull it up for you, because that's what I do. I am here to serve. There we go. Donald Trump this morning at 5:33 in the morning. Has Bubba Wallace apologized to all those great NASCAR drivers and officials who came to his aid, stood by his side, and are willing to sacrifice everything for him, only to find out that the whole thing was just another hoax? That and flag decision has caused lowest ratings ever. Everyone is concentrating on a couple of things here. One, that Bubba Wallace should apologize. For what? He's the victim. In case you don't know, Bubba Wallace, he's a NASCAR driver. He's the only black NASCAR driver, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. I don't watch NASCAR. Just cars going in a circle, no appeal to me whatsoever. But great. If people enjoy it, okay. At least we're polluting the environment. So he's an African-American NASCAR driver, and somebody found in his garage a noose hanging there, and I might even have footage of the noose. So then that was reported, and people are not happy about it, and then they had this actually really cool moment where they all got out on the track. Everybody in NASCAR got out on the track, and they followed Bubba Wallace along, and someone was driving a car. Again, I don't pay too much attention to it. It's NASCAR. But basically, it turns out that the noose was put in there a couple of years ago, or a year ago. They have pictures of it before it was Bubba Wallace's pit. It's not the pit. What is it? It's just his garage at Talladega. They all get assigned garages, apparently. So the noose was in that, but it was the only one that it was in. So it just happened to be in stall number 48 or whatever stall it was in. And if someone's got the picture of that, somebody look it up and send it to me, and I'll put it up here. Somebody DM me with the picture of the noose hanging in the garage. I had it, but I'm unprofessional. Anyway, so everyone's paying attention to that and the flag decision. And if you don't know, NASCAR decided that we're no longer to allow Confederate flags at NASCAR tracks or events. And the president, of course, being, the president of the United States, is all about, apparently, the Confederate flag, which is the country that seceded from the United States and then attacked the United States and ended up killing 600,000 people. Combined, the two countries fighting each other. But for some reason, we have to have that flag. So NASCAR banned it, which I think I applaud their decision, because, I don't know, flags. And what everyone's missing here is this line. So the NASCAR drivers and officials came to his aid, stood by his side, and were willing to sacrifice everything for him. How's that? Oh my God, dude, you're a fellow human being, and someone put a noose in your garage? And at first glance, it appears as a very racist symbol and or a death threat to a black man to hang a noose in his garage, and only in his garage. All the other garages have no nooses. Niece? Anyway, so you know what? You'd like us to march with you down the track? You'd like us to hold hands? You'd like us to do what? Dude, I am behind you 100%. I will defend your basic right to human dignity. And to the president, standing with a black African American and holding his hand and walking with him is sacrificing everything. The same way that he sacrificed everything by, dodging the draft, I guess. It's got a strange look at... Anyway, so he's asking that Bubba... We're doing like a 20-minute thing on the NASCAR now. The NASCAR. This turned out to be a hoax. It wasn't a hoax. It was a misunderstanding. Nobody was playing a trick. Somebody tied a noose to pull down a garage door or pull up a garage door, whatever it was. Like, dude, there's other knots that you can tie. The noose doesn't even make sense because the noose, if you grabbed it, it gets tight around your hand. What is the point? I was never a Cub. Well, I was a Cub Scout, but that's another story. There's better knots than the noose. But the bottom line is it wasn't there to target Bubba Wallace. There's no way someone could have known last year that Bubba would get this garage at Talladega. So misunderstanding. The FBI looked into it. Bubba has come out and said, hey, thank you, everybody, for your support. This was not a racist attack. The FBI determined it wasn't a hate crime, blah, blah, blah. But then why should he apologize? So, when there's a threat on your life, and it turns out to not be a threat on your life, you owe an apology. That's what the president is saying here. Let's take a look back to a little guy talking in Reno, Nevada.
By the way, folks, while we're at it, great.
Somebody yelled gun. Oh, here's the Secret Service. There they go. Thank God there wasn't a ramp there. That was Reno, Nevada, November 5th, 2016. Somebody yelled gun or said something. Trump stopped. The Secret Service came and took him away. There was no gun. It was a hoax. And so now, the President of the United States, his apology will be coming at any minute, I'm sure, now that he's realized that. Just his standards. That's your squirrel. It's got nothing to do with the coronavirus. It's just something he tweeted this morning. But we're all going to just ask questions about the squirrel. Here we go.
Mischaracterizing the tweet. The tweet was aimed at pointing out that the FBI report of the alleged hate crime at NASCAR concluded that the
right to the bunker, says Jana. You're right.
Garage door pull, which had been there since last fall, was obviously not targeted at a specific individual because, in fact, it was a garage pull, and in fact, it was there since last fall, long before.
She just repeated herself, but okay.
Before these 43 teams arrived, and it was concluded by the FBI that this was, quote, not an intentional racist act.
For clarity, I'm asking you about the Confederate flags. My question is...
Right. Again, in the tweet, Trump said they banned the flag, and now they've got the lowest ratings. You know, Trump's all about ratings. So he's saying you shouldn't have banned the flag. Now your ratings are super low.
Why is the president so supportive of flying the Confederate flag?
The president never said that. Again, you're taking his tweet completely out of context.
The president...
It's in the tweet. It's 280 characters. How do you take it out of context?
Said...
The context is, it's a fucking tweet.
That NASCAR saw bad ratings because they took down the Confederate flag, banned the Confederate flag. Does he believe NASCAR should fly the Confederate flag, and why don't they fly it here?
The whole point of the tweet was to note the incident, the alleged hate crime, that it in fact was not a hate crime. At the very end, the ban on the flag was mentioned in the broader context of the fact that he rejects this notion that somehow NASCAR men and women who go to these sporting events are racist, when in fact, as it turns out, what we saw with the FBI report and the alleged incident of a hate crime, it was a complete indictment of the media's rush to judgment, once again calling this a hate crime when the FBI completely dismissed that.
It was NASCAR that reported it. Bubba didn't even discover the news. That he had nothing to do with it. He's the victim here, but the tweet says he owes an apology.
Let me ask you about some of the president's comments this weekend. The president said that 99% of coronavirus cases are totally harmless. Which members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force agree with that statement?
So what the president was pointing to, and I'm glad you brought it up, was a factual statement, one that is rooted in science, and one that...
The number of coronavirus cases that are actually harmful is far higher than 1%. And she's about to prove it.
That was pointing out the fact that mortality in this country is very low, and I have two charts that we'll pull up to illustrate that. The first chart is the case fatality rate in the United States, and as you can see, the mortality rate has gone like this, the case fatality rate, and also in the second chart you'll see, hopefully they have it up behind me, but the case rate fatality rate in this country vis-a-vis other European countries is much lower than, let's say, France and Italy, and what that speaks to is the great work of this administration with therapeutics and remdesivir and dexamethasone, and that's what the president was pointing out.
So I want to get back to just to follow quick.
And the source for that was Our World in Data. So, of course, if you want to cherry pick things, you can cherry pick things. And I did some cherry picking. So here's what we're looking at there. This is their case fatality rate of COVID. This is from the European CDC, basically. So France was above 15%, blah, blah. All of these countries got hit early and didn't realize what COVID was going to do. Plus, they only got the European strain of the virus. The United States has been lucky enough to get both the European and the Asian strain of the virus. The Asian seems to be far less deadly, but that's all going to be taken out in the wash. We'll figure that out at least. So Germany and the United States, you can see down at the bottom at about 5%. That being said, she just proved that the president was wrong. He said 99% of the time it's harmless. That's 5%. 5% is, I don't know how many times greater than 1%. I'm not that good at math, but I know that's not right. And then let's see if I think I have even more on that, guys, because speaking of morons, you can go to Our World in Data yourself, and I did. Let's take a look. Okay, let's get rid of that first. I can make this work. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here is Our World in Data. I can drag that. I can make that bigger for you. There we go. So, kind of hard for you guys to see unless you're watching on a computer or bigger, but here's United States, Denmark, Finland, United States, all around 5%. Here's another European country, Norway, 3%, Luxembourg, 2.5%, Israel, 1%. And this whole thing about the United States having a very low mortality rate compared to the world, it's nonsense. Some countries, it has a better mortality rate than. But if you go down, just scroll down the page I'll drag it back, give me a second. If you go just down the page on the same site, Our World in Data, you can see Germany and the United States are way up at the top in terms of total confirmed COVID-19 deaths. And this is on July the 6th. This is happening right now. Here's the United States up at the tippy top. We're doing very poorly. And then as we go around, we see Serbia, Mauritius, Cuba, Mauritania, Burkina Faso, Georgia, Zimbabwe. Georgia's the country, not the state. All of these with much, much better mortality rates than the United States up at the top. So, and that's in a 5 percentile there. All of these, Bahrain, Qatar, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Israel, Singapore's doing awesome. South Korea's got to be down here somewhere. South Korea's got to be way down here. Rwanda has a better mortality rate than the United States. Let's go back to her.
So, if you don't die, is it not harmless?
The president was noting the fact that the vast majority of Americans who contract coronavirus will come out on the other side of this. Of course, he takes.
Kayleigh, if the president is always noting the fact that, why doesn't he use the words that say that? Seems like a really simple solution.
Takes this very seriously. Of course, no one wants to see anyone in this country contract COVID, which is why the administration has fought hard to make sure.
Some people want to see one guy contract COVID. I promise you that.
That's not the case with our historic response effort. John.
Kayleigh, to follow up on Peter's question, what is the president's position? Does he think NASCAR made a mistake by banning the Confederate flag?
So he said I spoke to him this morning about this, and he said he was not making a judgment one way or the other. The intent of.
She asked the president, is the Confederate flag a good thing? And he said, apparently, I'm not making a judgment one way or the other. You know, because the president doesn't hold strong opinions about most things. But if you're the president of the United States, for example, if you're Jewish in Germany and someone says to you, what are your feelings on the swastika? You're not going to say, you know what, I'm really walking the fence on this. I don't really feel. It's the Confederacy. They attacked the Union. They're the bad guys. Very simple answer for the president. But that might affect his base. Here's the thing. His base isn't going anywhere, and he doesn't realize that. If somebody in the White House was smart, I'm looking at you, Stephen Miller, because he's conniving, you don't have to play to your base. They're locked in. That cake is baked. Start reaching out.
Of the tweet was to.
And yes, I can give the president advice on how to win because he's not going to take it.
Stand up for the men and women of NASCAR and the fans and those who have gone in this rush to judgment of the media to call something a hate crime.
Somebody named Goodfellas in here said, fact check this, snowflake. I'm the snowflake and the president is demanding an apology from a NASCAR driver? Okay, good fella. Hey, welcome, by the way. Feel free to chat as much as you want. Number one, Democrats hate America, Trump 2020. Yeah, I'm not a Democrat. I didn't vote for Hillary, but you go, good fella. The more you tweet and chat in here, good fella, the more money I make. So keep it up.
Crime when in fact the FBI report concluded this was not an intentional racist act. And it very much mirrors other times when there have been a rush to judgment, let's say with the Covington boys or with Jussie Smollett.
But let's drill down on the Confederate.
By the way, I called Jussie Smollett as fake the very first day. What was the thing? This is Trump country or something like that. His story just didn't make any sense whatsoever. I wasn't doing the live stream at the time, but I don't know. Anyway, I called it.
Confederate flag. Does he think it was a mistake for NASCAR to ban it?
The president said he wasn't making a judgment one way or the other. You're focusing on one word at the very bottom of a tweet.
Oh, the word at the bottom of the tweet doesn't count. So only that's the way tweets work. The words at the top are more important. The words at the bottom, they're meaningless. You can't really read them even. Why bother? Read the first sentence only. That's where it's like the opposite of a totem pole.
That's completely taken out of context and neglecting the complete rush to judgment on this.
Ratings are down because they banned the flag? That's what he said.
The president was noting the fact that in aggregate, this notion that NASCAR...
Aggregate, there it is. You have to take tweets in aggregate. Aggregate, if you're just joining us, is our drinking word of the day.
Men and women who have gone and who are being demeaned and called racist and being accused in some venues of committing a hate crime against an individual. Those allegations were just dead wrong.
Does he think his supporters should not take the flag to Trump rallies? Has he considered banning the Confederate flag from Trump rallies?
Well, at Trump rallies, all flags that are not official campaign gear are banned. Yes.
Kayleigh, why is it Bubba Wallace's responsibility to apologize for an investigation into a news that he didn't report?
Trump has used the word aggregate, but only when someone named Agra did something wrong he wanted to accuse him of.
And he never even saw. It was NASCAR that found this, that reported this, and even the FBI referred to it as a news, even if they said it wasn't a specific crime against Mr. Wallace. Why is the president even suggesting that Mr. Wallace should apologize?
Well, look, the FBI, as I noted, concluded that this was not a hate crime, and he believes it'd go a long way if Bubba came out and acknowledged that as well. This was not a hate crime as noted by the FBI.
Paula's right. I love Paula. She is just awesome.
It's clear that the FBI found this was not intentional. Why is he directing this at Mr. Wallace?
So one of the things this is where the president comes from, and this is where the president stands, and he actually...
Okay, we're going to ignore her for a second. Let's go. Bubba Wallace did release a statement on this. I have it here. Here we go. This is Bubba Wallace, according to, I think, Bleacher Report. Ironically, Bleacher Report, not a Trump supporter site. Sports site. Your words and actions will always be held to a higher standard than others. He's writing to the president. You have to be prepared for that. Or is he writing to the president? It's not. Anyway, so your words... Let me see. Does it go up from here? Oh, okay. Over on the right-hand side, this is an Instagram. He says, to the next generation and little ones following my footsteps. Your words and actions will always be held to a higher standard than others. You have to be prepared for that. Okay, so I'm guessing, and I don't know because I don't share his experience, I'm guessing he's talking to young African Americans or other minorities who are hoping to follow in his footsteps and blaze a trail. Your words and actions will always be held to a higher standard than others. You have to be prepared for that. You don't learn these things in school. You learn them from the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs the crazy world provides. You will always have people testing you, seeing if they can knock you off your pedestal. I encourage you to keep your head held high and walk proudly on the path you have chosen. Never let anybody tell you you can't do something. God put us here all for a reason. Find that reason and be proud of it, and work your tails off every day towards it. All the haters are doing is elevating your voice and platform to much greater heights. Last thing, always deal with the hate being thrown at you with love. Love over hate every day. Love should come naturally as people are taught to hate, even when it's hate from the POTUS. Love wins. And that was Bubba's response to that. And I applaud him. And if I ever watch a NASCAR race, I will root for Bubba.
Actually hinted at this in his July 4th speech. To those in the media who falsely and consistently label their opponents as racist, who condemn patriotic citizens, who offer a clear and truthful defense of American unity, we want a clear and faithful defense of American history and unity. And when you level false charges, you not only slander me, you slander the American people. He believes the American people are good. And the allegations and the rush to judgment with Jesse Smollett and the Bubba Wallace case and with the Covington Catholic boys, we shouldn't be so quick to jump onto those narratives. Those are just three examples of those that have been proven false.
An investigation that someone else initiated, suggesting he was possibly the victim of a hate crime?
Yes.
The governor of South Dakota flew back.
It completely goes to ignore all these reporters today. There's questions, but you're not answering. You're not answering. And then she just goes to the next one. Like, what is the point of these things except to entertain me? Really? When it comes right down to it, that's important.
On Air Force One after having contact with
Did I say swastika incorrectly?
somebody who had tested positive for the virus. Why was that allowed to happen? Did she have contact with the president on the trip back? And has the president continued to test negative since that interaction?
Yes, the president is tested constantly, has tested negative, and those around him are tested as well.
But why? What the original?
Side note, Kevin Lee daughter and I got tested on Wednesday. We both turned up negative. So, good news.
Question is, why was she allowed to fly back on Air Force One with the president when it was known that she had had contact with somebody who had...
Excellent question. How come someone who's had contact with somebody with COVID is allowed on Air Force One?
tested positive for the virus?
Yeah, I'd have to refer you to Secret Service on that, but I'll tell you this, they take the president's health very seriously. They would never put him in a situation that would put him in harm's way.
And just one follow-up, please.
Yes.
On executive orders, the president has set a pretty brisk pace on those this year, and as a candidate, he had been critical of President Obama's use of executive orders, but he seems to have really stepped up the pace on these, and I wanted to ask, what does he find, what is the strategy behind issuing more than one a week so far this year? And I know he's getting ready to issue more in the coming weeks.
Well, he will use the powers in his executive toolkit to further the agenda of the American people. That's his intent with these executive orders. And I would just note that with regard to the DACA decision, the Supreme Court has suggested he has pretty wide discretion to act. Yes, Jeff.
Kayleigh, with regard to the president's reference about the 99% being harmless, does the president worry at all that by downplaying the severity of the virus, that it will lead Americans to be less careful?
The president isn't downplaying the severity of the virus. What the president's noting is that at the height of this pandemic, we were at 2,500 deaths per day. We are now at a place where on July 4th, there were 254. That's a tenfold decrease in mortality. On July 5th, 209 individuals, down 23% from last Sunday and the lowest Sunday since March 28th. The president's made clear we grieve when just one life is lost, but he wants to note the progress that we've made in treating this very serious virus when we have therapeutics like convalescent plasma, remdesivir, dexamethasone. Convalescent plasma in particular was spearheaded by this administration.
What did she call it?
Severe dexamethasone, convalescent lost, but he wants to note the progress that we've made in treating this very serious virus when we have therapeutics like convalescent plasma, remdesivir, dexamethasone. Convalescent plasma in particular was spearheaded by this administration. He's pulled down bureaucracy and allowed us to get to a place where we can have this declining mortality rate.
Yeah, the declining mortality rate, that's great, that's awesome. But just over the weekend, while we weren't looking, this happened. This is the hospitalization rate. So we saw the cases spike about 2-3 weeks ago. And as we knew, a couple of weeks later, the hospitalizations would follow. And 2-3 weeks after this, I hope I'm wrong. I hope science doesn't work the way science works. We should start seeing the death rate rise. We don't want that. But that is what's happened so far with COVID. Hopefully, somebody comes up with a miracle, or it's just wrong, or because we have so many young people contracting the virus and being tested and confirmed having the virus, that the death rate will not climb very high at all. That's what we hope. But that's the hospitalization rate. And just over the weekend.
Just to follow up on the NASCAR thing, you were saying that we're taking the tweet out of context, but this is what he tweeted. He says, "Has Bubba Wallace apologized to all those great..."
No, they're bringing hydroxychloroquine back in. There's a new study from the Henry Ford Medical Centers in Detroit, 2,000-ish patients, and hydroxychloroquine. We'll cover that another time. And I posted about it on Twitter. But there's good news about hydroxychloroquine, and of course, after you find out about it, the study has some very serious flaws. But I mean, I'm hoping. I hope that hydroxychloroquine has some sort of effect. Still, absolutely no evidence that it works as a prophylactic. None. Hi, Bev.
Great NASCAR drivers and officials
Hey, Cam.
who came to his aid, stood by his side, and were willing to sacrifice everything for him, only to find out that the whole thing was just another hoax. That and flag decision has caused lowest ratings ever. How are we misinterpreting that?
I've explained to you, this is, I guess, the fourth attempt, but we'll try it again. In aggregate, what he was pointing out is this rush to judgment to immediately say that there is a hate crime, as happened in this case, as happened with Jussie Smollett, as happened with the Covington Catholic boys. And in aggregate, those actions made it seem like NASCAR men and women were racist individuals who were... Well,
I mean, NASCAR men and women are racists. Not in that sense of the word, but
roving around and engaging in a hate crime. The president's intent was to say, no, most American people are good, hardworking people. I mean, we should not have this rush to judgment, knee-jerk reaction before the facts come out. The FBI did their job and determined there was no hate crime. Mario.
Hold on. Just the one thing that wasn't clear.
I see in the chat room there, someone said sorry for your loss. Producer Joanna said that. Did somebody lose somebody here recently? I'm sorry, I have to pay attention to a lot of things, and I missed that in the chat room.
In your response, and that's why I asked about it again, and it follows up on Paula's question, is why should Mr. Wallace have to apologize for that when his whole team and all of these colleagues came around him to show support?
Yeah, and that's the best of America, is coming around when the media alleged a hate crime, coming around and supporting Bubba Wallace as they should have done. I think that shows how loving NASCAR fans are and the fellow drivers. But I think it's important that we point out the fact that there was no hate crime. The FBI concluded that, and President Trump was merely saying that Mr. Wallace should agree with that consensus.
And Mr. Wallace has. And the FBI didn't say that. The president said that. But the president didn't say that. He said apologize.
Yes, Mario.
Apologize. He's saying
Mario, yes.
Yes. Okay. So here's this reporter is asking, but he said to apologize, but he said to apologize. And she's like, Mario. Huge Mario Lopez fan. Mario's not even in the room, but that's her Macarena.
That's what we're trying to ask you, Kayleigh, is why should he have to apologize about that?
I'm not going to answer a question a sixth time. Mario.
You've been asked it, but you haven't answered.
Mario, go ahead.
Kayleigh, on the Confederate part, why would the president not praise NASCAR for removing the...
Oh, my God. Lifer Dr. Howard. Lost 7 close friends. I'm so sorry. That's got to be devastating. Yeah.
The Confederate flag, particularly given the history of that flag, the symbol on the Confederate part. Why would the president not praise NASCAR for removing the Confederate flag, particularly given the history of that flag, the symbol that it has for African Americans, and also what it represents in terms of just the treasonous acts and the insurrection against the Republic?
So,
completely valid, excellent question. I was going to say insightful. It's not even insightful. It's apparent. It's right there in front of you. And the president should say, Mr. President, do you like the United States? I do like the United States. Simple as that. Would you like people that attack the United States? No, I would not like people that attack. Would you like some green eggs and ham? I would not like green eggs and ham. I would not like them in a box.
Praise them for taking that down, even if it's a ratings hit.
The president takes great offense when Americans are knee-jerk reaction summed up as racist. And in aggregate,
aggregate.
Picture being painted here in this incident seemed to be that there was that suggestion there, when in fact what we're seeing across the nation is this vast cancel culture where we're going to tear down our monuments.
I think cancel culture comes from Tucker Carlson. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say because Tucker Carlson is a hoax, but it's a Fox thing. Remember, this is the president. Oh, I'll pull you up Daniel Dale's tweet.
We're going to tear down Gandhi. We're going to tear down George Washington. We're going to tear down Lincoln.
Nobody tore down Gandhi.
It's really quite appalling what we've seen happen across the country, and the president wants no part in cancel culture. He wants no part in the tearing down and defacing of Matthias Baldwin, an abolitionist, Philadelphia's Civil War soldiers.
President Trump, the same president who called for a boycott of Apple, he wants no part of cancel culture. He asked people to boycott Harley Davidson. Remember that? Here we go. Let's pull up Daniel over here on the other side. CNN fact checker Daniel Dale. These are some tweets he just put together from the president. Donald Trump. Everyone should cancel. Oh, that's what it is. Everyone should cancel HBO until they fire low-life dummy Bill Maher. That's one. I hope everyone read Dan Amara's report statement and will cancel the subscription to New York Meg. So this guy is literally cancel culture. Tricky Candy. Oh yes, canceling their Macy credit cards. You know, Macy's out of business now too. Kind of sad. And Apple. And let's see. And Rolling Stone. So Donald Trump is responsible for ending all of those fine institutions because his boycott power is so strong.
John Greenleaf Whittier vandalized an abolitionist. He wants no part in this.
Whittier.
He stands against the demonization of Americans, and he stands firmly on the side of...
Favorite John Greenleaf Whittier quote. Go! Of all sad things of tongue and pen, the saddest are these. It might have been.
Preserving our history. Yes.
The flag is a different issue.
He is not, I said from the very top of this briefing, he has not given an opinion one way or the other on that. I just spoke to him this morning.
Why not?
Yes.
What exactly does the president see as positive or uniting then about the Confederate flag? Why did he decide to tweet about it then this morning?
The president never used those words. Those are the words of a reporter, not that of the president of the United States. Yes, Phil.
The president argued on Friday and then again on Saturday that many of the problems the country faces stem from, quote, extreme indoctrination and bias in the education system. If that's the case, is he working with Secretary DeVos to address what he sees as a major problem? What steps is he taking to undertake this, and could you give us an example?
Yeah, I'd have to inquire about that, about specific steps that he's taken. I'm not aware of his conversations with Secretary DeVos, but I will certainly follow up. But look, we've got a real problem in this country. When you have rioters, who I've listed off some of the examples of abolitionists, there seems to be zero understanding of history when you're defacing the statue of Matthias Baldwin and John Whittier and Ulysses S. Grant. There seems to be a lack of understanding and historical knowledge when the Armenian Genocide Memorial, remembering victims of all crimes against humanity, including slavery, is vandalized. There seems to be a lack of understanding of history when the first responders sculpture is damaged, when the Polish War Hero statue, the World War I Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, the World War II Memorial, and absolutely the Robert Goode Shaw and the 54th Regiment Washington Memorial that honored African American soldiers who fought valiantly in the Civil War was damaged in Boston. We need to have a better historical understanding, and I'll follow up with you about specific conversations. Yes, Holly.
Thank you, Kayleigh. I have a question about masks. The president has sort of equivocated on the issue of masks, and we know that a number of Republicans are starting to say that it's the single most important thing that Americans can do to protect each other. What is the president's message to Americans who hear those messages and say that they simply don't want to wear a mask? What does the president say to those?
The president was very clear last week that if he were in a situation where he wasn't tested daily and he was in close proximity and unable to social distance, that he would wear a mask. So he has made that clear. His rally this weekend in New Hampshire, masks are not only handed out, but they are recommended. Yes.
Thank you, Kayleigh.
He did make that clear, and I want to share that with you. Give me a second here. I can do this. Yes, I totally can do this. Give me a second
Health
here.
benefits, sir. Why not go for that? So
this is the president making clear of his statement. I can do this. Give me a moment. This is going to be a nice surprise for everyone. So if you don't know who this is Sarah Cooper. You should know Sarah Cooper by now. She's absolutely amazing, and this is what she does. This is How to Mask by Sarah Cooper. Let me get rid of this idiot. There we go. Here's Sarah Cooper. Please follow her on the TikToker and support her.
if there is an economic benefit, sir, and there is a public health benefit, sir, why not go forward and say there should be mandatory masks all across this country?
Well, I don't know if you need mandatory because you have many places in the country where people stay very long distance. You talk about social distancing, but I'm all for masks. I think masks are good. I would wear, if I were in a group of people and I was close.
You would wear one?
Oh, I would, I have. I mean, people have seen me wearing one. If I'm in a group of people where we're not, 10 feet away, but usually I'm not in that position, and everyone's tested. Because I'm the president, they get tested before they see me. But if I were in a tight situation with people, I would absolutely.
You think the public will see that at some point?
I mean, I'd have no problem. Actually, I had a mask on. I sort of liked the way I looked. Okay, I thought it was okay. It was a dark black mask, and I thought it looked okay. It looked like the Lone Ranger. But no, I have no problem with that. I think, and if people feel good about it, they should do it.
So if there is an economic benefit, sir, and there is a public health
quiet
benefit,
now.
sir.
That is Sarah Cooper. She's fantastic. So get out there and subscribe to her on the Ticker Talker. Here we go.
I wanted to say, first off, point of fact, Bubba Wallace did not make any kind of false report. And I'm wondering, in general, why the president thinks that issue is worth his time and focus right now in the midst of a deadly pandemic. And then also, you've said he has no opinion on the Confederate flag. Why can't this White House...
Kind of answers his own question there. Why does he want to make this the focus during a pandemic? Here's what we know from John Bolton's book. This is distraction. This is what he does. If Melania, suddenly there's a story about her, not Melania, Ivanka. If Ivanka is using her personal email for government business, just like Hillary, create a distraction. That is what he does. And that is exactly what this is.
Unambiguously state whether or not it supports displays of the Confederate flag.
No, I said...
And Confederate monuments, which are much more a part of this question than Gandhi.
Yeah, I said...
So this has been a question about Bubba Wallace, and then COVID, Bubba Wallace, Bubba Wallace, Bubba Wallace, Bubba Wallace, Bubba Wallace. Let me rock you, Bubba Wallace. Let me rock you. That's all I want to do, Bubba Wallace. That's impossible to do. Somebody do that. Come practice that, and then come back to me. Let me rock you because I feel for you. Shaka Khan, let me tell you what I want to do. Want to love you, want to hug you, want to squeeze you too. Let me take you in your arms.
His tweet was not to indicate approval or disapproval of that particular policy of NASCAR. It was an aggregate to stand against the rush to judgment, to call something a hate crime before the facts were out, when clearly the media was wrong about this. When clearly, I never said that. Perhaps one of the reporters said that, but I certainly did not. But he believes that we should be...
we could watch Randy. But Randy is too long. YouTube would give me a copyright strike for Randy. And I don't want to do that. I've seen Randy through 2 or 3 times. He was very nice to me. And nothing but good things for Randy. He's the queen. But yes, go watch the new Randy Rainbow. It's hilarious. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I can just tell you it's hilarious. Especially since it's one of the songs from The Little Mermaid. And, well, I have a little something for The Little Mermaid. Oh, God damn it. Who moved that? Kevin Lee daughter. Oh, ruined everything.
Truth matters, and that the truth was the FBI did a thorough investigation, and what was concluded that there was no hate crime here, and we should all be grateful for that. Grateful that NASCAR fans...
Number 1, truth matters. Number 2, Kevin Lee daughter just opened the door. She's like,
Came together in a great display of American unity around Mr. Wallace, but then we should also be equally unequivocal about the truth of this situation here, and that most Americans are great, hardworking people. Yes.
Cultural stuff worth his time and focus during the pandemic.
Yes, he's focused on two things at once. Something we're all capable of doing.
On the Confederate flag. Are we capable of doing that?
Look, the president has made clear he was not taking a position one way or the other in that tweet.
Exactly.
Yes.
Why not?
Exactly. Why not? Another great question. But again, pandemic.
Yes.
Thanks, Barry. Two quick questions, if I may. Does the president support the Cleveland?
You know, honestly, at this point, the White House Correspondents Association should just not show up for these. It can just be OAN and Kayleigh. They don't ask the questions she wants to answer anyway, and she scolds them for it. Just wait.
Indians and the football team here in Washington considering changing their names?
I haven't spoken to the president on that.
And on the other question, who came up with the list of historical figures that the president wants honored in his in this garden of statues that he put out this executive order about? Who came up with the list of people to be included there?
So I don't know exactly who came up with that list. I can ask about it, but it's a pretty extraordinary list of people. I think we can all agree on the fact that great American heroes are people like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington and Martin Luther King Jr. These are incredible men and women in our history, Susan B. Anthony and Billy Graham. So I think we can all pretty much widely acknowledge that these are American heroes. Yes.
Thank you, Kayleigh. The president signed the...
And Antonin Scalia, is he an American hero? The guy who has been trying to kill abortion for years?
Payroll protection program extension over the weekend. There's $132 billion in the pot.
Yeah.
What does the president think that money should be used for if it's still there after August 8th? And then in a CARES 4 specifically, what should be there to help small businesses?
Yeah, so I don't have any updates on Phase 4. I've mentioned that the payroll tax is something of great interest to the president because it would help low and middle income Americans most. The PPP fund.
And the Americans without jobs, how does the payroll tax cut help them at all? Is it?
They've done an extraordinary job with that. Small businesses across the country have gotten this, and we've kept people on payroll. So
that is an excellent point, Green Room Bar. Yeah, so we were told the process, the PPP. So, okay, we'll back up. PPP is money the government is giving to businesses. They're supposed to be small businesses. Medium-sized businesses might be okay. 50 employees per location and less. It's a terrible thing to write because, for example, a Hyatt might have a small hotel that has less than 50 employees. So Hyatt then becomes eligible for these millions of dollars, which they can then use to pay their people and get free money, basically. Because if you use it for payroll, and a couple of you I know in here have had PPP, as long as you use X percentage of it for payroll, then the loan is forgiven. And so it's free money from the government, and it helps keep people off unemployment. And it helps with things, for example, this last jobs report where there was temporarily people out of work temporarily, I should say. And then when they get the PPP money from their small business owner or employer, they're no longer getting unemployment, and so the government can take them off the unemployment rolls, and it makes Trump look better. But it's money for small businesses to keep them alive, so it's a very, very good thing. We were told this was all be transparent, and now we're being told, like, no, you can't, this is your taxpayer money, but you're not finding out where it went. The reporters have been asking, hey, we want to see where this money went, just like the farm subsidies that were given out. The bulk of that has been going to very large farms, but corporate farms, basically, with all kinds of people. That's another story. Anyway, we want to know where the PPP money is going, and that's completely valid. It's our money, and the Trump administration has now told us, no, we're not going to see what that is.
So he's very pleased with the progress that's been made there and the continuing functioning of the PPP.
Would he veto a bill then that did not have a payroll tax relief in it?
Oh, no, Kim. The Atlanta mayor, she's been on TV quite a bit recently, too, and she's positive. God. Everybody stay safe, for the love of God. I've been saying this. Get yourself an N95 mask. Sorry, I have not been saying that. Get yourself a KN95 mask. Order them from China if you have to. They're in a lot of, you can find them in convenience stores, especially if they're Asian-owned. Stores that would be familiar with ordering products from China, small items. Some dollar stores have them, but they're going to be more than $1. So more protection for you than a cloth mask. Now, there's some people that are now saying they're bad because they have one-way valves that let your air out and don't let they keep you protected, but they don't protect anyone else from you. Yes, that is correct. But some of the valves, like I have one they're placed off to the side, so you're not going to get very much virus out of me. But A, I'm clean. B, the whole everybody wears a mask and I don't get it. It doesn't work because we live in reality and this country is full of mask holes who won't wear a mask. Or they wear a mask and they wear it like this. So it's completely pointless. Anyway, I care about all of you and I want you to protect yourself. And if you protect yourself, you cannot become a vector. That's my thoughts on masks. And this is what I've been saying since the very beginning, and nobody listened to me. And I was saying, hey, we all need to get N95 masks. It was N95, not KN95s back then. They're slightly different. N95 masks are better, but we have to reserve them for the health workers because Trump didn't activate the DPA, the Defense Production Act. We should be swimming in N95 masks 5 months into this thing, but we're not because the Trump administration is completely incompetent.
Yeah, I don't want to set parameters or conditions. That'll be up to the president when the bill arrives on his desk.
Yeah, Green Room, how are things in Ireland? Are people actually wearing their masks? Because here in the States, even now, I'm in Washington State right now, the other Washington, and just in the stores, they're mandated now. You have to wear them. This is only about a week ago that they finally mandated them because they thought, like, Washingtonians, they'll be on the honor system. But even just walking through a store on the weekend, probably 90% of people wearing them, but then there'll be 2 or 3 idiots that have them hanging off their ear or are not wearing them at all. And as the New York Times reported yesterday, there's 250 scientists around the world now that have written to the WHO and signed a letter and said, hey, tell people that it's aerosolized. It hangs in droplets in the air. Even after that person has left, you can walk into that room and breathe in virus. So again, my friends, get yourself KN95 masks.
Yes.
Thank you, Kayleigh, so much. As President Trump wants to reopen the country.
That's true. Ireland has flattened the curve, like actually flattened it. So much less of a risk. But as long as things are spiking around here, everybody should be wearing masks one way or the other.
What will be the criteria to cancel the travel bans? Because we know that the bans are still in place for European countries where the situation is under control. And on the other hand, there is no ban on hotspots like Russia, India, or Mexico, for example. So what is the criteria?
Yeah, so I don't have specific criteria to give you. I'd have to refer you to the State Department and Secretary Pompeo and his remarks on the topic during his last press conference as where we currently stand. But President Trump and the administration have taken bold, decisive, and frequent action to secure our homeland, and a big part of that has been these travel restrictions. And we're working with countries around the world. We hope to have a day where international travel is open, but right now this is about putting America first. And I want to say this.
Doesn't even make sense. Like, we hope that international travel can be open, but right now we want to put America first. Nobody else is letting America in. So there's only one position right now. So yeah, America's going to be first because that's it. That's all we got. If I wanted to go to the Green Room bar in Ireland tomorrow, I can't. If I wanted to spend all of my unemployment earnings, all $108 to buy a ticket to Ireland.
Yes. European countries, now the UK, are starting to open for foreign visitors, but the US is still banned. How do you think the world is looking at the United States right now?
I think the world is looking at us as a leader in COVID-19 because the chart I showed you where you have mortality rate in Italy and UK up here and across Europe, and you have the United States at a low case mortality rate, it's because of the extraordinary work that we've done on therapeutics and getting PPE and leading on ventilators and having excess ventilators that we were able to deploy around the world and help other countries.
Wait a minute, Lynn, you had to quit your job because your boss wouldn't wear a mask or social distance? Where are you, Lynn? That is absolutely ridiculous. PayPal Lynn, new PayPal Lynn had to quit her job. That's ridiculous, Lynn. I want to hear more information on that. I think we're almost done with the broadcast. So, Lynn, if you're hearing this, pipe in there and let me know what the details are.
So that's what I would have to say on COVID. And finally, I'd end with this. I was asked probably 12 questions about the Confederate flag. This president's focused on action, and I'm a little dismayed that I didn't receive one question on the deaths that we got in this country this weekend. I didn't receive one.
Well, that's because you gave that wonderful speech about how we need to do something about guns. That's why, at the beginning. You guys remember that, right?
One question about New York City shootings doubling for the third straight week, and over the last 7 days, shootings skyrocket by 142%. Not one question. I didn't receive one question about 5 children who were killed, and I'll leave you with this remark by a...
So the reporters are like, we'll ask questions. You don't have to leave. We're not done. We're here all day. We're not covering the president all right now, so...
Dad, it broke my heart. A dad of an 8-year-old lost in Atlanta this weekend. They say Black Lives Matters. You killed a child. She didn't do nothing to nobody, was his quote. We need to be focused on securing our streets, making sure no lives are lost, because all Black Lives matter. That of David Dorn and that of this 8-year-old girl. Thank you.
All right, so that was Kayleigh McEnany, Nina. So going back to... Lynn, what happened here, Lynn? Okay, let me go over to the YouTube chat so I can get these updates more quickly. So that's it. I think that's it for today. We've got to do Billy Joel. Oh, we do have a little bit of Billy Joel. Rich, I think I just saw you in here. Rich, are you here? Yes, you are. And she dropped the binder. And while we're here, let's just jump over to the Billy Joel. I think I've got one new vote up, but we have to cover... the other vote that came through. Let us do Billy Joel. I'm going to do this and play the opening. Billy Joel himself has yet to vote, so far as I know, so I'm kind of upset about that. Billy Joel Madness, and okay, this is an old result. Don't look at that one. Let me do this, and here's Billy Joel Madness opening, brought to you by Rich Mack. Yay! Welcome everybody to Billy Joel Madness. Here are some voting results. Okay, everybody. Ooh, I just got really small. Let me make me even. There we go. That looks even better. Here we go. There. That's it. Okay. So Billy Joel Madness. If we go over to the latest, I have to make this. Okay. Okay. Here we go. The results from a couple of days ago. Let's see. Right now we've got Prelude against Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. Looks like Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is running away with this thing. I can make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see it. There we go. Yeah, right now it's 81-18. Prelude's a great song, but come on. Scenes from Italian Restaurant. Whoop, not that. Come here. You. Get up here. There we go. That's better. Or is it? Let's go down a little bit more here. So, New York State of Mind hammered Lullaby. So that was the result we were looking for. So we'll update that. We'll go over here to brackets. Nope, we won't. Here comes Billy Joel Madness, and that was over on the other side. And it is... There we go. Lullaby, New York State of Mind. Does anybody remember what the vote was? Thank you so much. 71-28. Good job, Kevin. New York State of Mind. What was it? I just forgot. 71-29, we'll say. So 29, 71. And the next vote is already up there, so you guys can go vote on that one right now. We're going to save the changes here. Let's go back to what that previous vote was. So the vote happening right now is Prelude against Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. 32 votes so far, 2 hours left. Right now, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is running away with this thing. If you're a big fan of Angry Young Man, you want to get in there and vote now. The best way to do that is go to the Twitters, hashtag Billy Joel Madness, and there it is. You guys are still talking about to say goodbye to Kayleigh McEnany. Yeah. Thank you, Kayleigh. Love you too. Got to run for now. Me too. I'm heading out of it. Everybody, thank you so much. It's been a day. I woke up at 5 o'clock, not to wake up, but I happened to check my text, and my bank had sent me a text saying that someone had tried to take out $700 on an app. Was it me? At 1 o'clock in the morning? It was not. They did get $300 from an ATM. Apparently, this person somehow got a card that I never received and had a PIN and the chip. It had the chip and everything. So they had the actual card. They had not a duplicate, because apparently you can't duplicate the chip. I bet you can. But anyway, they had a card that I'd never even seen before. So, and not one that I ever ordered either. And my bank couldn't tell me who ordered it, but they were running around doing all that. Rich, yeah, we are going to finish the Billy Joel parody at some point. It's like you write it and then 3 days later, totally new stuff. But yes, that will be done on Kevin as It Is in Earth. Okay, so I think that's it for Billy Joel. Anything else? Did I promise you guys to tell you guys a story or something? I think I did, but I don't care. Thank you, Stephanie. Everybody stay safe. Get yourself a mask. Just stay home. Just order things. I have to go out now to get something for Kayleigh daughter, but if it's possible to order something and have it dropped into your trunk, do that. Unless you have KN95. Remember, the K is for Kevin. And that's what makes it great. Okay, guys, I still have not updated. So anyway, the reason I haven't updated the credits, which was in the plans for this morning, was that A, I had to go donate blood, which was fine. Donate blood if you can. And B, I spent multiple hours on chat and then on the phone with KeyBank. And okay, I just told you the name of my bank. Okay, go ahead and break in, everybody. Now I got to delete this. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. Yes, is my daughter going to cut my hair? Hold on. Kayleigh daughter, are you willing to cut my hair for money? Yeah. Well, the money's going to go for charity. I do have to talk to my agency, so that's another thing. I don't know if they're going to be cool with her cutting my hair, but I think, could you do a decent job? Could you? This was Kayleigh daughter. She's over there, and I'm like, hey, could you do a decent job? And she's like, so yeah, we might do that. Oh my God. Wow, we better do that. Okay, kids, you guys be good. Here's the closing credits that haven't been updated. So Lynn, you'll be in here, and everybody else, and David's pugs and everybody, they'll be in here later. So please cut it. You were an executive producer at Green Room. So, I mean, if you were still an executive producer, I'm just kidding. I appreciate everyone's support, and you guys are great. Be good, be safe. And I'm not going to leave the porch light on for you because you have phones. You can just use your phone flashlight if you get home and it's too dark.